Let's pause for a moment and reflect. How often do we swallow our discomfort, mask our genuine emotions, and allow others to breach boundaries that should have been sacred? Perhaps it's a friend whose playful jokes carry a sting, a family member whose subtle remarks undermine your confidence, or a colleague whose behavior quietly erodes your self-worth. These moments accumulate, unspoken yet potent, as if every compromise etches away a part of who we are. Life, with all its complexities, often teaches us to endure, to remain polite, agreeable, and accommodating. But here's the uncomfortable truth. Each time we allow someone to overstep without challenge, we permit them to redefine how we should be treated. Over time, this silent erosion of self-respect becomes a habit, and before we realize it, we've trained the world to expect our compliance. This is not the way of the Stoics. Imagine, instead, a life where you hold firm to the inviolable principles of respect, dignity, and self-worth. A life where boundaries are not just lines but declarations of self-respect. The Stoics, with their timeless wisdom, remind us that while we cannot control the actions of others, we hold complete authority over what we allow into our lives. Consider the story of a man standing before a storm. The wind is relentless, testing his resolve, yet he remains unmoved, not because the storm ceases, but because his foundation is unshakable. This is the essence of Stoicism, not to avoid the storm, but to stand firm amidst it. So today, we delve into 10 behaviors that no one should ever tolerate, behaviors that undermine your peace, compromise your growth, and challenge your dignity. As we explore each one, remember that setting boundaries isn't an act of rejection or cruelty. It's an act of profound self-respect, a declaration that your value is not subject to debate. Because at the heart of every great life is this truth: no one has the right to diminish what is inherently priceless, your sense of self. Let's begin. 1. Lack of respect. Respect is the cornerstone of any meaningful connection, a non-negotiable foundation for trust, growth, and dignity. And yet, how often do we find ourselves tolerating its absence, as if our worth can be bartered for harmony? Respect is not something that should ever feel conditional. It is not a favor bestowed upon you or something to beg for. It is fundamental, and the moment we begin to excuse its absence, we betray ourselves and the philosophy of self-respect. Imagine standing in a room full of voices, your ideas ready, your preparation thorough, only for someone to interrupt and dismiss you without consideration. It might seem small and inconsequential, but over time, these moments create fractures in your sense of value. In these instances, the Stoics remind us of a powerful truth. While we cannot control the behavior of others, we are entirely in control of what we allow. As Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." To guard your thoughts, you must first protect your boundaries. Respect is not always denied through apparent insults. Often, it's subtle. A friend who diminishes your ambitions with a veiled joke, a family member who disguises doubt as concern, or a colleague who constantly sidelines your contributions. These microaggressions, left unchecked, seep into your sense of self, eroding your confidence piece by piece. Epictetus wisely observed, "Know what is yours and what is not. Your self-worth belongs to you alone. No one else has the authority to diminish it." Setting boundaries against disrespect doesn't require confrontation, it needs clarity. A calm but firm response can shift the dynamic when faced with a dismissive remark or an undermining comment. Say, "I value respectful dialogue, and I expect the same in return," or simply let silence carry the weight of your conviction. By addressing the behavior, you send a message, not only to the other person but to yourself, that respect is non-negotiable. And if the disrespect persists, then the Stoics would advise you to reconsider the place of such individuals in your life. As Seneca wrote, "Associate with those who are likely to improve you. A life lived with dignity sometimes means choosing solitude over the company of those who do not honor your worth. In the end, respect is not just a gift you give to others. It's a standard you uphold for yourself. By demanding respect, you teach the world how to treat you. By rejecting disrespect, you preserve the sanctity of your peace. The Stoics believed in living a life aligned with virtue and purpose. In standing firm on the principle of respect, you embody the strength to live that life unapologetically. 2. Emotional manipulation. Emotional manipulation is one of the most insidious forms of disrespect. It doesn't confront you openly or come with the clarity of direct conflict. Instead, it seeps into your interactions like a slow-acting toxin, twisting your sense of self and quietly undermining your emotional autonomy. This violation is particularly grave to the Stoics, for it targets what they held most sacred: your inner peace and the clarity of your reason. Consider the friend who subtly shifts blame for every misunderstanding onto you, saying, "If you cared, you would have known," or the partner who guilts you with lines like, "After all I've done for you, this is how you repay me." Through the language of care or disappointment, these words are recalculated to disarm you. They make you question your actions, motives, and worth. Over time, they leave you walking on eggshells, afraid to misstep yet unsure of the rules. The Stoics, however, remind us that our emotions are alone to govern. Epictetus declared, "No one can harm you without your consent." Emotional manipulators thrive on your willingness to internalize their guilt, their blame, and their chaos. When you recognize their feelings are not your responsibility, you regain the power they seek to wield over you. But how do you counter such subtle sabotage? It begins with self-awareness. Pay attention to how you feel after interactions with this person. Are you constantly anxious, doubting yourself, or feeling unworthy? If so, this is a red flag. Once you've identified the manipulation, respond with calm detachment. A statement as simple as, "I understand how you feel, but I cannot take responsibility for your emotions," can defuse the situation without inviting further conflict. Manipulation often masquerades as care, yet true care uplifts, it does not constrain. Whether through guilt-tripping, silent treatment, or subtle digs at your character, manipulators seek to tether you to their will. The Stoic response is not to fight fire with fire, but to step outside their web entirely. As Marcus Aurelius advised, waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one. By living with integrity and refusing to engage in their games, you affirm your values without needing their validation. Emotional manipulation is a violation of the boundaries that preserve your peace. By identifying and addressing it, you protect your emotional well-being and reclaim the sovereignty over your inner life that the Stoics profoundly cherished. In doing so, you honor their enduring wisdom. No one can own your spirit unless you hand it to them willingly. Stand firm and let no one turn your peace into a battlefield. 3. Physical or verbal abuse. There is no justification, no excuse, no circumstance that makes physical or verbal abuse acceptable. To tolerate such behavior is to undermine the very foundation of your dignity and self-worth. Abuse, whether through bruises on the skin or scars on the soul, is a direct affront to the Stoic principles of self-respect and inner peace. The Stoics were resolute. Your dignity is sacred, and no one has the right to trample upon it. Physical abuse is often the most visible, yet its impact runs far more profound than the surface. Imagine someone who raises a hand in anger or uses physical force to assert control, later excusing their actions with phrases like, "I didn't mean it," or worse, "You made me do it." These words are not apologies. They are manipulations designed to make you question your reality. The Stoics, however, remind us to see things as they are. As Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The best revenge is not to be like your enemy, Walking away from physical harm is not weakness. It is an act of profound strength and wisdom. Verbal abuse, though less visible, can be equally devastating. It often wears the mask of honesty or tough love, but its true intent is to belittle, control, and erode your confidence. Picture a friend who constantly makes biting remarks about your choices, or a partner who uses sarcasm to mock your ambitions. Over time, these words become a prison, chaining you to doubt and self-criticism. Yet Epictetus offers us a key. It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. Verbal abuse may sting, but it does not define you. Only your response does. What does the Stoic response to abuse look like? It begins with boundaries. When faced with hurtful words, calmly assert your limits. I won't accept being spoken to like this. When dealing with physical aggression, prioritize your safety and distance yourself from the situation entirely. Setting these boundaries is not about confrontation, but reclaiming your dignity. It's essential to recognize that abuse often thrives in silence. The abuser relies on your hesitation to speak out or seek help. But the Stoics teach us that courage is not the absence of fear. It is the choice to act despite it. If you are in an abusive situation, seek support from trusted individuals or professional resources. Walking away from abuse isn't just self-preservation. It's an affirmation of your worth. Abuse, in any form, is a betrayal of the respect that every individual deserves. The Stoics believe that to live with virtue is to honor your humanity. By refusing to tolerate abuse, you embody this belief. With every step you take towards safety and self-respect, you declare that your dignity is not up for debate. Stand firm, speak up, and walk away if necessary, because no one, under any circumstance, has the right to diminish you. 4. Dishonesty. Honesty is more than a virtue. It is the foundation upon which trust and meaningful connections are built. Without honesty, relationships falter, leaving behind suspicion, doubt, and disconnection. To tolerate dishonesty is to undermine your clarity and peace of mind, which the Stoics valued above all else. For as Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it." Dishonesty often begins subtly. A friend bending the truth to make themselves look better. A partner withholding key details under the guise of sparing your feelings. Or a colleague breaking promises and brushing it off with excuses. At first, these lies may seem harmless, but over time, they create cracks in the foundation of trust. Your own, and perhaps even yourself, erodes with each broken truth. With each broken truth, the Stoics remind us that our peace cannot be built on unstable ground. Epictetus taught, "It is not things that disturb us, but our judgment about them." When dishonesty enters a relationship, it clouds our judgment, making it difficult to discern what is real and false. This confusion breeds emotional turmoil, directly violating the Stoic pursuit of inner harmony. So, how do you confront dishonesty? Begin by addressing it calmly and directly. If a friend's story doesn't add up, say, "I value transparency in our relationship. Can we clarify this?" If a partner breaks a promise, let them know, "Trust is important to me, and I need honesty for us to move forward." These conversations may feel uncomfortable, but they are necessary to preserve both your peace and the integrity of the relationship. However, when dishonesty becomes a pattern, the Stoics would advise you to evaluate the person's role in your life. Seneca wisely said, "Associate with people who are likely to improve you." Surrounding yourself with individuals who prioritize honesty fosters trust and reinforces your commitment to living with integrity. It's equally vital to guard against self-deception, the lies we tell ourselves to avoid facing uncomfortable truths. Perhaps you justify someone's dishonesty as harmless or convince yourself it's easier to overlook it than to confront it. However, the Stoics believed in the courage to face reality, however complex it was. Marcus Aurelius reminded us, waste no more time arguing about what a good person should be. Be one. Upholding honesty in your relationships begins with practicing it in your own life. Dishonesty, in all its forms, is a breach of respect, not just for the relationship but for you. Refusing to tolerate it protects your peace, upholds your values, and creates space for genuine connections to flourish. The Stoics would commend such resolve, for it is through truth that we build meaningful relationships and a life aligned with virtue and self-respect. 5. Excessive control. Control is a delicate matter. Guidance and advice from others can be invaluable, but it becomes suffocating when it crosses the line into excessive control. Someone else's need to dictate your choices, manage your actions, or shape your path is not a concern. It's domination. To tolerate such behavior is to surrender your autonomy, a principle the Stoics held as sacred. Epictetus reminds us, freedom is the only worthy goal in life. It is won by disregarding things that lie beyond our control. Excessive control often begins under the guise of care. A friend questions your decisions with phrases like, "I'm just trying to protect you," or a partner dictates your daily activities, claiming, "I only want what's best for us." Over time, this behavior chips away at your independence, leaving you doubting your ability to make choices or trust your instincts. What they frame as love or concern is, in truth, an effort to assert dominance. The Stoics believe that personal freedom, your ability to govern your mind and actions, is non-negotiable. Marcus Aurelius wrote, waste no more time arguing about what a good person should be. Be one. Being a good person doesn't mean yielding to others' expectations, but standing firm in your values and decisions. Allowing someone to control your life only distances you from your true self. How should you address excessive control? First, recognize it for what it is. Pay attention to patterns where someone's influence consistently overrides your autonomy. Once identified, respond with calm clarity. Say, "I value your input, but I need the space to make my own choices." This affirms your boundaries without creating unnecessary conflict. Control can be particularly destructive in close relationships. A partner who monitors your interactions or demands constant reassurance of your loyalty does not demonstrate love. They reveal insecurity. The Stoics teach us that real love is based on mutual respect, not control. If someone's control feels stifling, consider saying, "Trust is essential to me, and I need space to maintain it." Boundaries like these protect the relationship without compromising your freedom. Excessive control can also arise in professional settings, where a micromanaging boss or colleague stifles your creativity and independence. Here, the Stoic principle of focusing on what you can control is invaluable. Advocate for yourself calmly. "I work best with a degree of autonomy. I'd like to approach this task in my way." You reclaim control over your work without unnecessary confrontation by asserting your needs. Ultimately, excessive control reflects the controller's insecurities, not your limitations. The Stoics remind us to have compassion for others' struggles, but not at the expense of our freedom. Marcus Aurelius said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this, and you will find strength. By setting firm boundaries, you honor this truth, ensuring your life remains yours. In a world that often seeks to impose its will upon us, preserving your autonomy is an act of courage and a declaration of self-respect. The Stoics would encourage you to live as the architect of your own life, free from the chains of excessive control. Stand firm, trust your inner wisdom, and let no one dictate the path only you are meant to walk. 6. Humiliation. Humiliation is a silent thief. It steals your confidence, tarnishes your dignity, and sows seeds of doubt that can linger long after the moment. Whether it comes cloaked in humor, criticism, or so-called tough love, humiliation is never justified. The Stoics understood the devastating impact of such behavior and emphasized the importance of protecting one's self-respect. As Epictetus taught, know first who you are and then adorn yourself accordingly. To tolerate humiliation is to ignore the intrinsic value of your worth. Humiliation often starts subtly: harmless joke at your expense in a group setting, a public critique of your ideas, or a belittling comment disguised as constructive feedback. Imagine a colleague dismissing your work with a smirk or a friend making light of your ambitions in front of others. These moments may feel insignificant, but they carry weight, eroding your confidence one slight at a time. The Stoics would urge you not to let such behavior take root, for dignity, once compromised, is difficult to reclaim. Responding to humiliation requires courage and composure. If someone's words or actions cross the line, address it calmly yet firmly. A statement like, "I prefer discussions that remain respectful," or "that comment feels unnecessary," sets a boundary without escalating the situation. This reclaims your self-respect and signals to others that you will not tolerate being diminished. Sometimes, humiliation comes from those closest to us: a family member pointing out flaws in front of others, or a partner making cutting remarks under the guise of honesty. While their intentions may vary, the effect remains the same. Your sense of worth is undermined. The Stoic approach does not retaliate with anger, but draws a clear line. As Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it." Upholding this principle in your relationships ensures you both give and expect respect equally. Work environments, too, can breed humiliation, often under the guise of professionalism. A manager publicly reprimanding you or a coworker dismissing your ideas can leave you feeling exposed and small. The Stoics remind us to separate our sense of worth from external events. Epictetus declared, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." Maintaining your composure and addressing the issue privately protects your peace and dignity. At its core, humiliation is an attempt to assert power by making others feel small. Recognizing this truth can be liberating. You reclaim your strength when you refuse to internalize someone else's negativity. Seneca advised, "Associate with people who are likely to improve you. Those who humiliate you do not belong in your trust or esteem circle." The Stoics believe that a life of virtue begins with self-respect. By refusing to accept humiliation, you honor your inherent worth and set a precedent for how you expect to be treated. True strength lies not in enduring degradation, but in standing firm against it. Choose dignity over submission, confidence over doubt, and never forget that your value is not up for negotiation. 7. Lack of empathy. Empathy is the bridge that connects us, the thread that weaves human relationships with understanding and compassion. When empathy is absent, interactions feel hollow, and relationships lose their depth. To tolerate a consistent lack of empathy is to accept a life where your experiences, feelings, and perspectives are dismissed. The Stoics, champions of self-awareness and connection, remind us that while we should not rely on others for our happiness, we deserve relationships built on mutual care and understanding. As Marcus Aurelius said, "Be tolerant with others and strict with yourself." But tolerance must not come at the expense of your emotional well-being. A lack of empathy often reveals itself subtly: a friend who never listens when you speak, a partner who dismisses your struggles as trivial, or a colleague who brushes off your challenges with a perfunctory "that's life." These moments accumulate over time, leaving you feeling unseen and unheard. The Stoics would urge you to pause and reflect. Are these relationships adding value to your life, or are they depleting your emotional reserves? When faced with indifference, the first step is clarity. Express your feelings calmly. "I feel supported when my thoughts and emotions are acknowledged." This communicates your needs and invites others to reflect on their behavior. However, if their lack of empathy persists, the Stoics would encourage you to reevaluate the relationship. Seneca advised, associate with people who are likely to improve you. Emotional reciprocity is essential for growth. Without it, relationships become a one-sided drain on your energy. Empathy's absence is particularly stark during moments of vulnerability. Imagine sharing a personal struggle, only to be dismissed with a platitude or redirected back to someone else's concerns. These responses leave a void where the connection should be, making you question the value of your openness. But the Stoic response is not to retreat into silence or resentment. Instead, seek relationships where mutual understanding is valued, and remember Epictetus's wisdom. What concerns me is not the way things are, but the way people think about them. Choose to align yourself with those who value empathy, not those who dismiss it. Lack of empathy can also manifest in professional environments, where colleagues or leaders disregard your challenges in favor of efficiency or results. While you cannot force understanding in such settings, you can advocate for yourself. Clearly articulate your needs. I'd appreciate if we could consider these factors to address the situation better. Standing firm in your boundaries demonstrates self-respect and fosters clarity even in indifferent environments. Ultimately, relationships without empathy are imbalanced, depriving you of the emotional connection necessary for growth and fulfillment. While Stoic philosophy emphasizes self-sufficiency, it also acknowledges the importance of choosing relationships that uplift and support. Empathy, like respect, is a two-way street. If someone repeatedly shows they cannot meet you on that road, the Stoics would advise you to walk another path. Your peace of mind is too valuable to be compromised by apathy or indifference. Surround yourself with those who listen, understand, and care. As Marcus Aurelius wrote, the happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts. By prioritizing relationships rich in empathy, you create a life where your thoughts and feelings are heard and valued. In doing so, you honor yourself and the Stoic wisdom guiding you. 8. Destructive criticism. Criticism, when given constructively, is a gift. It challenges us to grow, to improve, and to see ourselves from a different perspective. But destructive criticism is an entirely different matter. It seeks not to build but to break. It masquerades as helpful feedback while aiming to diminish your confidence and undermine your progress. The Stoics, ever focused on cultivating inner strength, remind us that while we cannot control others' opinions, we can and must control how much power we give them. As Marcus Aurelius said, the opinion of 10,000 men is of no value if none of them know the truth of who you are. Destructive criticism often comes in subtle, cutting forms. A sarcastic remark about your ambitions, a dismissive comment cloaked in honesty, or a passive-aggressive dig disguised as concern. Imagine sharing a project you've worked hard on, only to be told, "I guess that's fine for someone at your level." These words are not designed to inspire. They are intended to wound. The Stoics would remind you to pause, detach, and recognize that such remarks reflect the critic's insecurities, not your worth. When faced with destructive criticism, the key is discernment. Ask yourself, is this feedback intended to help me grow, or is it rooted in negativity? If the latter, respond with calm and clarity. For instance, you might say, I'm open to feedback that helps me improve, but I'd appreciate it being constructive. This sets boundaries and demonstrates your commitment to self-respect and growth. Destructive criticism is particularly corrosive when it comes from those closest to us. A friend who constantly nitpicks, a family member who highlights every flaw, or a partner whose words consistently undermine your confidence. While their intent may not always be malicious, the effect remains the same. Their words plant seeds of doubt where encouragement should grow. Here, the Stoic approach is invaluable. As Epictetus advised, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. You have the power to reject their negativity and affirm your worth. In professional settings, destructive criticism can manifest as a manager focusing solely on your mistakes or a colleague downplaying your achievements. The Stoics would encourage you to separate your sense of accomplishment from external validation. Take pride in your efforts, regardless of the response. If necessary, address the issue professionally. I value constructive feedback, but I'd also like an acknowledgement of what's working well. It's important to remember that destructive criticism often stems from the critic's insecurities. Those who feel inadequate themselves are usually quick to tear others down to feel a sense of superiority. While the Stoics teach compassion for others' struggles, they also emphasize the importance of boundaries. As Seneca wisely said, associate with people who are likely to improve you. Surround yourself with individuals who build you up, not those who seek to pull you down. Ultimately, criticism should serve as a tool for growth, not a weapon of destruction. By rejecting destructive feedback and embracing constructive insights, you honor your commitment to self-improvement and resilience. The Stoics remind us that our worth is not dictated by others' words, but by how steadfastly we hold to our principles. Protect your peace, demand respect, and let destructive criticism disappear, powerless against your inner strength. 9. Indifference. Indifference is a quiet form of rejection. It doesn't confront you outright. Instead, it dismisses your feelings, belittles your efforts, and ignores your presence. When someone consistently shows indifference, they send a clear message. You do not matter enough to warrant their attention or care. For those who value connection and mutual respect, tolerating indifference can feel like standing in a shadow, unseen and unacknowledged. The Stoics, however, teach us to see indifference for what it is, a reflection of the other person's limitations, not our worth. As Marcus Aurelius wisely noted, the happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts. Indifference often manifests subtly. It could be a friend who never asks about your life, a partner who dismisses your feelings with a shrug, or a colleague who overlooks your contributions as if they're invisible. These small moments compound, leaving you feeling isolated and undervalued. The Stoics would urge you to step back and evaluate. Are you investing your energy in someone who reciprocates, or are you pouring into a void? Addressing indifference requires both courage and clarity. Begin by expressing your needs with calm honesty. For instance, you might say, I feel more connected when our conversations go both ways, or I need to know my efforts are acknowledged. These statements are not demands, but invitations for the other person to engage more thoughtfully. However, if they choose to remain indifferent, the Stoics remind us that their response is beyond our control. We can control how much space we allow them in our lives. Indifference in professional environments can be equally disheartening. Your contributions may be overlooked, or your ideas may be dismissed immediately. In such cases, the Stoic principle of focusing on your effort rather than the recognition of others becomes essential. Epictetus taught, do not seek things to happen as you wish, but wish for them as they are, and you will find serenity. Take pride in the quality of your work, regardless of others' acknowledgement, and advocate for yourself when necessary. I'd like to discuss how my efforts contribute to our goals. In personal relationships, persistent indifference is a sign of imbalance. A family member who only reaches out when they need something, or a partner who repeatedly dismisses your emotions reveals a lack of mutual respect. The Stoic response is not to retaliate with bitterness, but to reassess such relationships' role in your life. Seneca advised, associate with those who are likely to improve you. Your time and energy are precious. Invest them in connections that nourish your spirit, not those that deplete it. Ultimately, tolerating indifference is a form of self-neglect. It signals to others, and yourself, that your feelings and contributions are optional. The Stoics would argue that this is a disservice to the dignity and purpose inherent in every individual. You reaffirm your worth by addressing indifference and, when necessary, stepping away from those who cannot value you. As Marcus Aurelius did, you declare that your peace and happiness depend on the quality of your choices and the people you choose to keep close to. Life is too fleeting to be surrounded by those who fail to see your light. Seek relationships where empathy, respect, and care flow freely. The Stoics remind us that while we cannot control the indifference of others, we can control our response, and, in doing so, shape a life filled with meaning and mutual appreciation. 10. Jealousy. Jealousy, when left unchecked, is a corrosive force. It disguises itself as care or concern, but its aim is control, resentment, and division. A hint of jealousy might be human, but persistent or excessive jealousy speaks to deeper insecurities that can undermine even the most substantial relationships. For those who follow the Stoic path, such behavior directly contradicts the values of trust, freedom, and mutual respect. Marcus Aurelius cautioned, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." To tolerate jealousy is to allow another's fears to infringe upon your peace. Jealousy often takes root subtly. It might appear as a friend's dismissive comments about your successes, remarks like, "Must be nice to get everything handed to you, even when you've worked tirelessly." Or perhaps it shows up in a partner's constant need for reassurance, disguised as questions like, "Why do you need anyone else when you have me?" Over time, these seeds of doubt grow into vines that choke your independence and confidence. The Stoics would remind us that jealousy is not about you but Bababuterson projecting it. Their insecurity and fear manifest as attempts to control or diminish. Epictetus taught, "If you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid." In other words, do not let the opinions or insecurities of others dictate how you live your life. Jealousy, in its essence, is a reflection of someone else's inner turmoil, not a judgment on your worth. Addressing jealousy requires firm boundaries and compassionate clarity. If a friend's envy diminishes your achievements, you might say, "I value our friendship, but I need your support to feel encouraged." With a partner, you could assert, "Trust is essential to me, and I can't build a relationship under constant suspicion." These conversations are not about confrontation, but reclaiming the respect and balance that every healthy relationship requires. In some cases, jealousy escalates into control, demands to know where you are, limitations on who you can see, or guilt tripping you into prioritizing them. The Stoics would counsel you to see this behavior as an intrusion on your autonomy. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Protecting your freedom is not selfish. It is an act of self-respect and integrity. Even within family relationships, jealousy can arise. Masked as concern or advice meant to keep you grounded, a relative might downplay your success with remarks like, "Don't forget where you came from," implying that your growth is a betrayal of shared roots. The Stoics would advise you to accept such comments gracefully but not internalize them. Seneca said, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." Recognize these words for what they are, expressions of their struggle, not a reflection of your achievements. At its core, jealousy seeks to limit, control, or diminish. To tolerate it is to accept a lesser version of your life, defined by someone else's insecurities. The Stoics, however, teach us to strive for freedom from external control and the weight of others' opinions. By clarifying jealousy and setting firm boundaries, you affirm your right to live authentically and unapologetically. Authentic relationships are built on trust, respect, and shared joy, not suspicion or resentment. When faced with jealousy, choose to stand firm in your values. Choose to celebrate your growth without apology. The Stoics remind us that while we cannot control how others feel, we can choose the role they play in our lives. Surround yourself with those who uplift and inspire, for life is too precious to be weighed down by the chains of jealousy. Conclusion. Life is too short to tolerate behaviors that erode your peace, compromise your values, or diminish your sense of self-worth. Each of the behaviors we've explored, whether it's disrespect, manipulation, or jealousy, represents a challenge to the boundaries that protect your inner harmony. The Stoics teach us that while we cannot control the actions of others, we have absolute authority over how we respond. By setting boundaries, we reclaim our dignity and affirm our worth is not negotiable. Imagine your life as a carefully cultivated garden. In this garden, respect, empathy, and trust are the flowers you nurture, and boundaries are the fences that keep out the weeds of toxicity and negativity. The garden becomes overrun without these fences, and the beauty you've worked hard to grow is lost. Each time you set a boundary, you reinforce those fences, allowing your garden to flourish undisturbed. But boundaries are not walls. They are bridges to better relationships. By clearly communicating what you will and will not tolerate, you create opportunities for growth, both for yourself and those around you. When others respect your boundaries, relationships deepen. When they cannot, you gain the clarity to let go and make space for connections that uplift and inspire. The Stoics remind us that standing firm in your values requires courage, but it also brings freedom. As Marcus Aurelius wisely wrote, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." Protecting your peace aligns your life with the values that truly matter. If these lessons resonate with you, join our community by subscribing to the channel. Here, we explore Stoic wisdom, ancient philosophy, and timeless principles for personal growth. Hit the notification bell to stay updated and share your thoughts in the comments. We'd love to hear how Stoicism has helped you build a life of strength and purpose. Remember, you deserve a life filled with respect, trust, and meaningful connections. Protect your peace, stand firm in your values, and continue walking the path of wisdom. Thank you for watching, and as always, stay grounded and courageous, and let your inner strength guide you forward.